The Ultimate Football Fan is now here. All the biggest fan channels in one place.
Flex Nights down.
100% Chelsea.
Arsenal Fan TV.
All about the fans.
Why is he on the fucking pitch? What for what?
Exclusive content only here.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to
The UFF Daily Football Show.
The #1 source, everything going on in the football world, daily.
UFF. Do what you have to do.
Hello and welcome to FanPark Live head-to-head debate challenge. We're back again, full studio tonight in association with History. Remember the hashtag, it's down below in the descriptions, History of Football, from the 28th of May. So from Monday, and there's going to be 24/7 films, documentaries, an absolute footballing bonanza, huge televised event on History, whether you've got that on Sky, Virgin or Freeview. Make sure you check all that information out down below. These are sort of preludes to it, and it's World Cup season, it's World Cup fever, and we're debating it now. We want to hear from you on 0203 606 0315. We're also going to talk to Ty, we're going to talk to Claude, and of course our main man Chris is here as well to debate. Big question tonight. Which of the two, France in 1998 or England in 1966, which of the two performed the best as a host nation? Which of the two performed the best as a host nation? If you check out the Ultimate Football Fan Twitter page, there's a poll currently going out on there. France are leading that race as it stands right now. We want your views, your opinions, and we're going to jump straight into it with these gentlemen here. I'm going to go to Chris first and say, look, we all know, we've watched Chris enough. Chris is a French gentleman. He may not sound it, but he's definitely French. He spoke French to us a moment ago. So maybe we know what he's going to go with here. But from your point of view, 98 versus 66, which of the two host nations performed the best?
I mean, the thing is, the impression I get, I'm not old enough, I wasn't around to obviously see what England done all those years ago. But the impression I get from that victory is it doesn't really get a lot of credence outside of England. I don't see other international players or other countries or whoever speak about that World Cup or that England team during that World Cup with a lot of fondness. That doesn't mean you should take anything away from it, but it doesn't really go beyond that. Whilst the French team and how they done competitively, as well as what that victory meant in terms of the French society, in terms of how international teams look like you know, we used to say le blanc, le noir et le beurre. You know, the French players had obviously black players, white French players, and also Arabic North African players, and that was a big thing. So not only on the pitch was that really impactful, but also socially it was very impactful. So for that reason, that's why, you know, bias aside, I consider that to be a greater victory in terms of what we've done in 1998.
Well, I disagree on that. Do you mind?
Yeah, go on. So what
because they're not really all French, are they? They're all from different nations, aren't they?
Woo! It's early. It's early. No.
It's like the cricket argument with all. You can like you got, as you said, the Algerian.
Yeah, North African players, the Moroccan players, Algerian players.
Exactly. They're not actually French, are they? They could have been. They should be playing for their own countries. They should be, like Zidane should be playing for Algeria, shouldn't he? Vieira should be playing for Senegal.
I mean, we're not at this part of the debate. I definitely got a rebuttal for you.
Right.
1,000%.
Where's England? It's full England players. There's not one.
Is it though?
There's not one player that you could say is outside of the England nation.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
you got Algerian. You got Senegal. There are other nations, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a few. West Indians. No,
so how many of them French players are actually French born?
Let me ask you this. So you supported England during World Cup 98, right? You supported England, I'm assuming.
No.
You didn't. So you don't support England?
I support the country of my parents' birth.
Okay, no. So I'm interested. So what's that?
Italy.
Okay, fair enough. So would you say you're English, right, Terry? I know.
Yeah, I'm 100%.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? So you supported England, I'm assuming, in 98, 2002, 2006.
Every year.
Right. So I'll tell you what. Rio Ferdinand and Sol Campbell made it in the teams of the year in that particular tournament, right? I could easily say, well, by your logic, are they English?
They're born here, weren't they? But that's by his logic. I'm not. Right. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing.
But at the same time, that's the case for Thierry Henry, Zidane, Makelele, all of those players, they are born
We're
in
talking
France.
about 1966, aren't we?
No, but against 1998.
Yeah, exactly. But every single one, I think, in the England team there was fully from that country.
Listen, I hear
that for sure.
I understand what you're saying, but is it okay?
It's true,
is it a case of being born there, but also having your football education in that country? Because it's very different if. So Marcel Desailly, for example, his background is Ghanaian.
Yeah.
But his football education didn't come from Ghana. His football education comes from France.
Yeah.
And that's the case for Zidane. That's the case for Thierry Henry, Trezeguet,
I suppose you've got a
Chokayev.
point. I suppose you have got a point. with
And
some-
as an Italian,
Yeah,
you know,
you
it's
have got-
funny,
you have
and as
got
an
a point.
Italian,
You have got-
2006, tell me where Cameroonese is from.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
There we go.
right.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
You
There
got
we
me.
go.
You got me.
There we
You
go.
got me.
no,
Actually, on Campbell and Ferdinand, you have got a very good point. But then,
Okay,
if you look
we're
at
going
that-
to move this on a little bit because we're
but we're not talking about whether they're entitled to play. I'm just going
Let's
on
move the
whether
point.
they're.
Let's move the point on to keep the show going. So, Ty,
Yeah.
which of the two, England in 1966 or France in 1998? Which of the two? And this is the point we're making here. We don't want to go away from it. Who should or shouldn't be playing? Which host nation performed the best for you?
Well, I think it's probably France,
Why, in your opinion?
in my opinion, because when it came down to it, they beat the best, arguably the best ever footballing nation at a world level.
My guy.
In Brazil. You know, because to beat Brazil in any game is amazing, but to beat them in the final in France is incredible. And the funny thing is, you're talking about the World Cup. No word of lie. I was actually, how can I put it? Because I always say this. I was humbled, I was honoured, I was privileged, and I was very blessed to actually be there at the World Cup. I went to support Nigeria, and it was absolutely incredible. It's on a scale different from any game or any tournament you've ever been. Talking about Champions League final, Europa League, Premier League. It was absolutely incredible. And the thing is, France, I don't know, is what is said that is positive energy can really help. I remember when Nigeria were there, the France fans were supporting us. And look what happened. They were, it was amazing.
Yeah, but that's the same. With all due respect to that, I was talking to somebody today that's going to Russia, and that's the same as far as I can tell, and what I've read about the history of World Cups.
Yeah.
That's the same at the majority of World Cups. You will get people from the host nation, whether it be South Africa, whether it be Russia, coming up. They will go to games that their country's not involved in, and those games tend to have a much more. If those are smaller nations that don't sell out their allocation, they'll always tend to be a really nice. Party atmosphere, because there isn't that rivalry going on. No one. There isn't that. You know, you get. It's like a not a pre-season game. So that's a little bit disrespectful. But you get that sort of party atmosphere. I've got a friend who's got tickets to go and watch Iran play Spain potentially, and that will be an amazing party atmosphere. You get lots of Spanish there, and then you'll get the rest of the crowd to be neutral, not caring who wins. So I think you get that, which I understand. But in terms of, I get your point. Let's go back to your point though. I want to ask you this question. So yes, France beat Brazil. Controversy around that in terms of why Ronaldo was still on the football pitch.
Yes.
And a lot of that stems back to there's a lot of speculation. The reason they had to play him even though he felt ill and had a seizure was because of a major sponsorship deal between Nike and Nike. And look, if he'd have played and he was fully fit, or if he didn't start and they had somebody else that came into the fray, maybe the result could have been different. But if you look at who England had to beat in 1966,
I mean,
When you look at the
so
opposition-
back to the Ronaldo point, just a quick word. I don't know if there's a documentary. I'm not going to do a free plug, but there's a Ronaldo documentary, and where he actually talks about it. Members of the Brazil squad from that year talk about it.
Yeah.
The way it went down, there was so literally you see him talking. This is what they say. So he woke up that morning, had a crazy fit or whatever. The reasons behind that for me have always been fishy, and that's me as a France fan, like as a Frenchman saying that.
Yeah.
For me, it's still very controversial.
Yeah.
The squad, the coaching staff didn't want him to play. They said you're not playing. Even when they had to announce the lineups, he wasn't in the stars.
Yeah,
he wasn't
I
in
heard
it.
about that, yeah.
He was the one who pushed for it. He was the one who said, "Listen, I'm fine to play." Because after that seizure, he said, "I'm fine." They did tests on him. He was all good. The coach staff didn't want to play him. Now, there may be that commercial kind of pressure to be like, listen, Nike, massive campaign. I remember that was the whole airport advert. Like there was a big thing on Brazil being that team.
Yeah.
So that may have played a part, but ultimately Ronaldo wanted to play.
made that decision.
But wasn't there He was pulled out and then put back into the side with about
Allegedly,
15, 20 minutes to go.
Yeah. There was
team
off
was
the
saying-
record.
Yeah, Chris is saying off his own back.
Some
And look, either
conspiracy
way,
theories.
like if he's made that decision, the coaching staff should have still, for me, should have absolutely not. They have the final say. However, for me, France was still going to win anyway. Like France that year in 1998, they were just. It wasn't. Yeah, they're at home and the atmosphere was there. And of course, Chris picked up. I was reading earlier an article about the legacy and the big part of the legacy for France. Forget the stadium and sort of youngsters getting into football. A big part of the legacy was to bring the country closer together on a multicultural basis.
Yeah.
It did help improve things. It had a slight regression afterwards, and I think something like 36% of
Oh, yeah, it got crazy
of the
afterwards.
public
Yeah.
sort of
After-
said that
after
they don't even
yeah.
they don't count it because non-French people won it. But then the idea that the need for France to host that World Cup and to do it, I think it helped some people definitely, and I think it had a massive impact. But that French team were absolutely
Listen, even
But only the
amazing.
final they had the difficult obstacle.
Whoa. Listen, this is how exactly
Oh,
went down.
hold on.
Group stage, you have a point. Group stage weren't particularly difficult. Past Paraguay, we faced Italy, you would know, and we only just about beat them on penalties.
Yeah.
We faced Paraguay, we had to beat them again, golden goal. Croatia, who had a very strong team at that point. Davor Suke was the top goal scorer in that tournament.
Davor, a legend.
Right, it took a right back to score 2 goals to beat them. And then we faced the reigning champs, and that 98 team was arguably better than the 94 team in terms of Brazil. If you look at that Brazil team, you've got Catherine Roberto Carlos either side, you've got Tafarel, World Cup winner, you've got Dunga, you've got Rivaldo and Ronaldo. And the Nielsen Cup, like,
Nielsen.
they were just
Fantastic.
They just had star players. Even if you don't start Ronaldo, you still got star players from back to front. So for me, the knockout stages going forward.
Yeah, I get that. We've got some videos we're going to play now for you. Then we're going to take some calls from people out there. And then we're going to touch a little bit more on the England 66 team and talk about why some of you may think that deserves a little shout. So you ready with the video, Jay? Right, we're going to get that on for you guys right now.
Yes. England 96. We've seen the highlights. We've seen the replays. They didn't win that final. They got lucky. They were a good team, but they got lucky. That ball did not cross the line. And if there was VAR or goal line technology back then it would have or could have been a very, very different situation. But it is what it is. But let's go back to the semi-final against Portugal, when Eusebio was just on a mad thing in that tournament. Nobody could stop him. And if I'm correct, they had all these issues with travel and accommodation, and the man went into the final on just not in the fittest state that he should have been. A lot of dodgy things happened in that home tournament to enable England to win that World Cup. France, one could say the same thing. They had a good tournament, obviously getting to the final. But as I've said, this was Ronaldo's tournament. He was dominating every defender, anyone who came in his path. No goalkeeper was safe. The night before the final, he's got this mystery illness. Seizures, this, that, whatever. 1 minute he's playing, then he's not playing, then he's actually playing. And if you watch that final, he wasn't really playing. He was just on the pitch. Something dodgy happened there as well, and I don't think it's no coincidence that France, who were the home nation, won it, and they battered Brazil in that final. Brazil were not there to be battered. That I don't trust that win, and I don't trust the 1966 win, and for that reason, it's a tie.
Going on winning wise, 66 isn't it? But I think we did all right for 98.
France 98.
98, okay. Why is that?
Because England were too biased, weren't they?
England 96.
Thank you very much. All those videos there taken by us, some from around the grounds over the last few weeks, and some people sending them in. Remember, you can always send videos in to FanPark Live via our Dropbox link in the description below. I believe we have a couple of phone calls ready. Jay, is that right? I'm going to put some phone calls through now and see what people have got to say on this matter. Hello, welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
My name's Adam.
Hello,
Adam. Welcome.
Who do you support?
I'm actually French. Je suis français. Yeah. So yeah.
Good. So I assume by you being French, you're gonna say France 98.
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah.
Okay, so why were they a better performing team than the England 1966 side?
I think the difference was that they had like world-class players on like a world-renowned level. If you look at England players like I know George Hurst and Bobby Charlton.
Jeff Hurst.
Yeah, Sir Jeff Hurst. Sorry. I don't think they had as much competition as the likes of Zidane, Henry.
What do you mean? There's not much competition.
Yeah, Jimmy Greaves couldn't even get in the team. We've got injured.
Jimmy Greaves' goal scoring record has only just been beaten by Cristiano Ronaldo. He couldn't get into the final lineup.
I mean, don't get me wrong. England's 1966 team was amazing as well. I just think that France team had something special.
Do you think Bobby Charlton was world class?
Or Bobby Moore?
Yeah, they were all
what about Gordon Banks? Best keeper in the world.
One of the best keepers of all time. He was probably better than he was way better than Barthez. But I just think France had that special panache in their team.
How many of the games from 1966 have you watched?
Only the final, to be honest.
Only the final. So it's quite difficult to give an assumption if you haven't watched all the games of France and all the games of England in '66.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
I'm only pulling your leg, like you got your view and your opinion. I'm just putting it out there. I'm using that as an example because I've seen a lot of comments on the Twitter feed and on YouTube tonight saying, "Well, how can I judge it? I've never had the opportunity to watch the '66 World Cup games." I think, and this is what I say, especially I'm saying this if you're English. If you're not English, I understand why you wouldn't do it, but we can go back and you can watch historic games of football. I think often in life people look at what's going on now or in recent times and they don't go back and watch it. And I think it's well worth doing because you'll realise actually that a lot of things you might see from Pep or Klopp, a lot of these things ain't new. They've been around a long time. They're just sort of reinvented. Anyone got any questions for the caller?
Not really. He's on my side, so I'm right.
Mate, thank you very much for your call. We appreciate it, Adam. Cheers, mate. Au revoir.
Yeah, thank you. That's in.
I mean, you've got Gordon Banks is the best keeper in the world at the time, wasn't he?
I'd flip what he said. To be fair, I'd flip what he said because I think England did have legendary players on that side, right? So you got Gordon Banks, you got Bobby Charlton, you got Moore, you got Styles. Is it Nobby Styles?
Yeah, Jimmy Greaves. Because he got injured. And
you got Jeff Hurst as well. But the way I'd flip that point, it isn't so much about who they had on the respective teams. It's who was the world class players around that tournament. So obviously you had Eusebio. Eusebio actually scored 9 goals in that tournament. Brazil. Not
with Pele.
Obviously with Pele. But in my opinion, that France '98 tournament probably in modern history probably had the most amount of world class teams and most amount of world class players. Take France out of the picture. Take Brazil out of the picture for a second, right? That England team was pretty stacked if you actually think about it. That England team to this day still gets a lot of praise.
Probably still our best England side ever. Like we've never created a better team.
What would you say world class when you say world class?
I'm talking just top players and top teams. So
cool. We've got some more callers that will get through on here. We'll touch it in a second. Jay, you put those through for us.
It's a very easy question.
I think about 3 or 4, but anyway.
Hello, welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
It's Jackson, mate.
Hello, Jackson. Who do you support?
How's it going?
Very well.
England.
England. So who are you siding with here? France '98 or England '66?
Well, to be honest with you, I just want to ask a quick question. Because I've been on a few talk shows with Claude.
This is a good one.
Not even on talk show. Claude, you've said to me, out of your own mouth, that you are one of the biggest England fans of all time. So what are you talking about?
What did I say? When have I said that? Are you having a laugh? When have I said that?
Claude has been absolutely found out.
I'm defending England tonight, but I've never said I'm a big England fan. You've got to be joking.
No, listen. Even the fact that you're saying that you're not an England fan is embarrassing.
In what way? Why?
Because we're all English, are we not? I've got Irish descent.
My parents are Italian.
My parents are Irish. We're from England. We should be supporting our team, England.
Well,
because we are. My blood is Italian, isn't it? I was born from.
My blood's Irish, but we're still England together. But you've even said to me before that you are a big England fan.
Never, mate. Listen, I tell you what, mate. I tell you what I think about. I tell you what, I won't even bother.
Just like when you said that Robbie was going to be one of the biggest England's internationals of all time, bro.
No, he's Nigerian, by the way.
Yeah, through choice. Not because he couldn't get an England team.
No, because he's Nigerian.
No. No, he chose.
He's Nigerian.
He's
Nigerian.
Nothing he said.
No, he chose
wrong. It's just his opinion.
No,
Mate,
both his parents are
really
Nigerian.
appreciate.
No, thank you
gentlemen, very much appreciate.
Where was he born?
Where was he born? Where was he born? Do you know? You
In
guys
Nigeria. He's born in Nigeria.
England.
No, he's born in Nigeria.
I'm checking on the internet now. How do you spell Iwobi?
He was born in the IWOBI. He was born in Nigeria.
Now you got Ty riled up, bro. Like
No. He was born in Lagos, Nigeria.
Thanks very much.
On May the 3rd, 1996.
So he's always going to play for Nigeria.
To be fair, he was always going to play for Nigeria because his uncle is the greatest Nigerian player of all time.
Well,
there's that too.
But do you think, mate? Really appreciate your call.
Thank you very much.
But on that side note, do you look? We had we were talking about kits the other night, and people were praising up that really good Jamaica side from '98. It was a good Jamaica side.
It was a good Jamaica side and a good Jamaica manager.
But sometimes I look at some of the players who are born here, whose parents may have Italian blood or may have Jamaican heritage, and I do sometimes think if you were good enough, you would have chosen England. I think some people they choose maybe a grandparents' nation. You get a lot of the Irish players do it. You know, they kind of pick Ireland because their nan was Irish, but that's only because I think they know in their heart of hearts they're not going to get into the England team.
I do feel like there's definitely validity to
you
that.
know what your
point.
parents are, aren't you? If you're both your parents are...
No. Like, let me answer that question.
Go on.
Like, I definitely feel like there's validity to... Hold on.
Why are you?
Hang on, let him speak.
My parents are Congolese. I'll give you my background, right? So if I was a professional football player, this is how I go about it.
Yeah.
My parents are Congolese.
Yeah.
I was born in Paris. I've lived in London for most of my life. Right? I support France because that's the first team that I saw, right? No, but what I'm saying to you is that if I was a player, I'd probably play for England. And this is why. England would be where I'd learn how to play football. And if I was good enough, it'd be a variety of things that would play a part in making my decision. Would be, okay, where I'm most likely to find success, where I could play, where I could have a legacy. And ultimately, if I feel like I'm good enough to play for England, I would play for England.
And look, I agree with you. From my point of view, I'm very fortunate. I've competed and fought for my country. And it was a very easy decision. I was born and bred in England. My parents are English, and it was a very easy. And all my martial arts. I was one sec, Jay. We'll take the call in a minute. Was very easy for me to pick that country. However, I've got friends who were born in England who have Nigerian parents and they support Nigeria at football, and I respect that because it's how you feel as an individual. What I also love about my country is that we have people say like Mo Farah who were born abroad. They moved to this country, but then they have what you're saying. You know, I think his family and his life was turned around in this country, and obviously he got into athletics. And so almost a level of out of respect for what England and Great Britain has done for him. That's what I'm going to represent, and I think that freedom of choice. So I get the callers.
That should be something that you
exactly.
Is he entitled though to be, because did he actually get a knighthood?
Yeah, but he's British.
But hold on.
If you've got a passport, you're British.
Hold on. Was he born here?
Doesn't matter.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't born here. No.
And his parents are from
Somalia.
Somalia. But
so how is it now? I thought you can't get a knighthood if you're not born.
No, but you've got to be British.
So if you've got citizenship
or a passport, you're British.
You're eligible for a knighthood. For honest.
Yeah. That's my understanding. Yeah. But we've got the final call of the night.
Oh, well, is that all?
Yeah. These are quick shows, bruv. just like your new manager at Arsenal, nice and quick.
Yeah, nice and quick. A great manager who Manchester United wish they would have.
My mate D.
Gentlemen. Gentlemen. Hello, welcome. Welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
I was calling regarding your question about the France 98 and West Ham 66 team.
West Ham 66.
That is awesome. 10 out of 10.
What do you want to say?
What is your name, sorry?
Let the guy speak. What do you want to
say? Sam.
Sam, alright, Sam.
Go on, Sam, crack on.
Vince, I just want to say, I've got some stats for you to prove that England 66 team was the better team.
Go for it.
Go on.
They never conceded a goal all the way into the semi-finals of the competition.
Okay.
And also, the France team, I think they were the favourites going into the World Cup. So
no, they weren't.
They really weren't.
Let the guy finish. Go on. Where did you get that from? Where did you see they were the favourites?
No, I was around at that time.
Okay, so you haven't got it right then, because as far as I know, Brazil were the favourites.
No one backed England for that '66 World Cup. I think Claude can back me up on that one.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're the same age.
No, he's probably younger than me.
Well, the guy's onto a point here. If you go back and read the history books, even though England were the host nations, they weren't. No pundits, no news. Nobody was considering them winning it. Although France weren't favourites, Brazil were. We know that.
Exactly.
There were people out there that thought they could do this with their team. The guy's right in his point there. What he's making. Thank you very much for your call.
Yeah, thank you.
And he's West Ham 66 point.
Okay, so the point. So just in response to that, number one, there was at least two teams that were favoured. There was at least two teams that were favoured to win it before France. Holland, which people don't talk about. That Holland team was like outrageously stacked in that year.
Yeah,
and Brazil.
Yeah,
and people talk. And people remember, like, France didn't qualify for that. You qualified from being host.
Yeah.
France weren't even in the World Cup 4 years prior. So we had great players, but people didn't talk about France being a great international side before that tournament. So, and as much as you want to talk about them not conceding a goal towards the semi-finals, that's a fantastic achievement in my opinion. There weren't even half the teams in there. Number one.
Yeah. Okay. On that, where I would say I get that point is that when England played in 1966, it was just barring the fact that North Korea were there. You go through the rest of the teams at the tournament. So it's a much smaller tournament, but you basically had Uruguay, France, Spain, Switzerland, Chile. Hungary were there when Hungary were a bad boy team.
You've got that. You got the matches there. But did England face as they?
So this was England throughout, and these teams were good because remember Uruguay in this day and age were winning stuff. So they played Uruguay. They played
draw 0-0.
Yeah, drew 0-0 with Uruguay. They beat Mexico 2-0. Okay, they beat France 2-0. They then beat Argentina 1-0 in the quarterfinals. Portugal with Eusebio 2-1 in the semi-final, and then Germany 4-2 in the final.
They only started facing competitive teams up until the quarterfinals. It was Argentina in the quarterfinals that you mentioned?
Yes.
I like the fact that you did your research. Also do your research around the refereeing quality in that tournament.
We can't blame referees.
No,
I don't blame referees.
I'm not blaming referees, but there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of writing about the quality of the refereeing in favour of England and against Latin American teams in general. Even I brought up the point earlier on about Portugal and England in that semi-finals. That's when Eusebio was at his peak. Again, 9 goals in one tournament was insane. Eusebio thought this was a fix. It wasn't actually a fix. I actually got it wrong because I don't know if it's the FA that allowed to basically choose where certain ties are being played. So Portugal were playing all the way up in Liverpool at Goodison Park, and England were playing their games in Wembley. And the scheduling and the timing of that semi-final and how they got Portugal to go down here, as well as the refereeing, like, talk about Pele. Pele said, listen, that tournament, he felt like I didn't want to play football afterwards because of how aggressive
it was aggressive. On the schedule, on the scheduling though, because we have got to wrap the show. On the scheduling, I was looking at this earlier because a few people brought up that the quarterfinals were all played at the same time, 3 p.m. on the 23rd of July. The so all teams played at the exactly same time, and the semi-finals are 3 days later at 7:30. So yes, they had to travel from Liverpool down, but there was exactly the same amount of rest time, exactly the same amount of. There was no sort of time difference. It wasn't like they had any less rest days.
Strange, but I get the point. TV,
yeah, but the TV
basically
was different back then.
It wasn't so much the scheduling. It was more case. It was more case of Portugal saying, "Well, yours basically." I know it sounds ridiculous considering England were the host nation, but you're playing at Wembley at home, whilst we're playing all the way up here. There's no neutral. Okay, because we don't. Really...
But wherever England would have played, it would never have been neutral because it would have been majority England fans there. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
But what happened at that World Cup with the stuff you're talking about is that when the Latin American teams were getting knocked out by the European teams, the Latin Americans said that there was a conspiracy. At one point, they said that a German referee helped England get through, and the English referee helped Germany get through. As soon as the Latin American teams were knocked out, the European sides then started saying the referees are favouring England. It was almost that whole tournament because one team started moaning. It became a knock-on of it. It sounded like Arsenal fans last year just moaning about referees.
Like Manchester United.
I love making him
did they? They didn't beat Chelsea, did they?
Let's international.
What? But listen, no. But everyone just moaned about referees. But listen, we're going to get the final poll up here. I'm going to make my decision. I'm going to go with the poll tonight. Some great arguments, great calls tonight, great opinions. France have dominated the polls with 61% of the votes on the Ultimate Football Fan page. But you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with the majority. We've seen in recent elections the majority can win, and people still moan. But listen, thank you very much for tuning in as ever. Check out History and their 24/7 worth of films, documentaries and all sorts and bits and pieces. Hashtag History of Football. We're back tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Big one tomorrow night. Muller versus David Villa. It's going to be an epic evening. It really is. Take care. Good night. God bless.
Take it easy.
Thank you for watching.